So I know you didn't grow up in San Diego. You grew up in Reno, Tahoe, but you relocated here to go to school.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your life experience, the familial relationships, just a little background on you, please.
Sure.
Cool.
It's Nevada, not Nevada.
Blew it already.
So I'm already, oh my gosh. Okay, there's a break right there. Great. So I grew up in the Reno, Tahoe area. I was born and raised.
Whoa.
And
Out-of-body experience.
in a little town called Sparks. Has anyone heard of Sparks, Nevada?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. You have, okay. So, yeah, Sparks. I say Reno, Tahoe. Yeah, so I grew up there, moved to San Diego in 99, but thought I was going to get paid to snowboard for the rest of my life. That didn't work out so well. Yeah, so I've been in San Diego for 15 years, and I feel like a native here, but it's been a while. So yeah, I grew up, mom, dad, fantastic, younger brother, and kind of from a young age was just really always taught I could do whatever I wanted, whatever I put my mind to. So I think around the young age of 7, I was racing motorcycles and dirt bikes. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So that's some of my earliest memories of just not being treated any differently, regardless if I was male or female. And here's a bike and a helmet, and just go for it. So that's kind of the environment that I grew up in. Yeah. Any
entrepreneurs in your family that helped you with that entrepreneurial bent, if you will?
So my father is a very hard worker. He's now since retired. And he was a truck driver and heavy equipment operator. So, worked really hard for every dollar that was earned for the family. And my mom actually climbed the corporate ladder in the banking world. So, just hardworking parents. Yeah.
Great. And you mentioned a brother too.
Yes.
Or a couple?
Yeah. So just one younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Let's see. Is there anyone outside of your immediate family that really helped influence you towards entrepreneurship? Anything that was kind of a telling moment or a relationship with an individual?
Yeah, so a couple things come to mind. So when I moved to San Diego in 99, I was sharing this story in our lunchroom at our office. Our office today at Tap Hunter is just down the street in the Symphony Towers building. And I had actually gotten accepted to ASU on a full ride grant. And lived there for a few short months and decided that I just absolutely hated Arizona. I hated the desert. And moved to San Diego and left the grant behind, called the parents up and said, so yeah, I'm moving to San Diego. Mom freaked out, wasn't accepted into school here, and I was just gonna figure it out. So I think once I got here, I got really lucky right before kind of the college system in California got difficult to get in and really expensive. And I had already had some classes and whatnot under me, but I'm SDSU alum, barely. And met some really impactful professors there that would not let me quit. I think I tried to drop out and quit at least 20 times. I hated college. I think our college system today is broken. And it just wasn't for me. It didn't work for me, but I just knew I had to finish and get the diploma, and just because, right? That's just what I guess, society says you have to do. And so I had a professor there that really changed my life. And he was also an MBA professor, and he got special permission or something. I don't know what he did. And I was working on MBA projects with his classes, doing internet marketing and technology consulting for companies around San Diego. And that was a pretty huge turning point for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I had the privilege to see him years and years later, and I shared the story with him. I think we were out at some job fair or something in town, and just the little tears were squeaking out of his eye because I hadn't seen him in years and years. But that was like a huge piece.
That's
definitely.
Neat. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Melanie shared with me on the phone that college was a challenge, as it was for many of us. In my case, it was because of all
Who liked college?
You know. Yeah.
Who hated college? Who didn't go to college?
Well, I went, didn't go to classes. So.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very telling that Melanie shared that same story, that she went to college and felt a little disconnected and finally found somebody that believed in her and showed her the path. And marketing was kind of your fallback position all of a sudden, and then you became a subject matter expert. So it's funny how those things happen.
Absolutely.
It's very fortuitous.
Yeah.
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 So I know you started in marketing after that, and then VP of sales. So you touched a lot of different areas in companies and helped grow those businesses. What really pushed you out of that comfort zone into your first startup, if you will?
Yeah, so I think, again, I worked for a startup in San Diego. They're still around today, called Z57. And they're a SaaS company, software as a service. They sell web services and marketing to real estate agents. And I was lucky enough to get a job there. I was sitting in accounting or something boring class, and up on the chalkboard it said, "We're hiring Z57.com." I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Sounds like a radio station. So I called in, and they're like, "Oh, we're hiring for inside sales." And I was like, "Oh gosh, please, have me come in for an interview." And I came in for an interview, and it was just this rockin' and rollin' office and young people everywhere and phones, and they're just selling websites and technology. It was fantastic. And I remember like it was yesterday. He's still a mentor of mine. So the original co-founder and CEO of Z57, his name is Steve Weber, and he interviewed me for the job. And I came in, and he's like, "So, he was really just rough. And what's your story? Why do you think you could work here?" And somewhere on my resume or in my application, I put I snowboarded. And I snowboard. And his question to me was, "Do you get air?" And what I didn't know is that he's an extreme skier. And as soon as he asked me, that was my thing. And I lit up. And I just said, "I do get air." And I was training to be pro, and I've been in multiple accidents and broken bones and blah, blah, blah. And I must have gotten a call an hour later because they had hired me.
That's great.
And he loves sharing that story today because he also remembers. And that was 15 years ago.
Wow.
And so I had the privilege to be at that company, saw them bootstrap to 20 million a year in revenue. They sold a few years ago. And so that's another key person that has had a massive influence in my life. Yeah.
So some very interesting influencers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your mentors, if you will. That's great. Now, after you left Z57, did you start G-Wave then? Was that?
No.
No. Tell us what
I went and
happened
helped
next.
start some other companies that I sadly wish I would have had some sort of stake in. So if you're finding yourself employee number 2 or 3, you better
Get stock.
Yeah.
Oh,
if you have some serious sweat equity in whatever you're working in right now, there was a company, I was employee number 3. We worked out of their living room, and they built and sold a few years ago, 2 years ago for $50 million. Yeah. Yeah. So if there's anything out of that lesson and you're early, don't be afraid to ask.
Ask for stock.
Yeah, when you're
Absolutely.
that early on the ground floor of whatever you're working on. But really, just that another great, success story of another startup. So that was fun to be a part of. But
Well, you've had some interesting experiences before you even became an entrepreneur for yourself.
yeah, so I was at Z57 in 2000. I started as an inside sales rep at the very bottom. Call sheet in front of me, no computers, just dialing for dollars, calling real estate agents and selling them websites. Became a top sales rep, a sales manager, and I left the company and ended up finishing school and graduated San Diego State, by the hair of my chin. And worked for several other tech startups around town. went back to Z57 as the marketing director. During this entire time is when I met my husband and now co-founder today, Mr. Flash Gordon. So he's a big part of this story.
Neat.
Yeah.
Is that really his first name is Flash?
His real name is Jeff.
Okay. Say, wow, I want to meet this guy. I think Queen sang about him, didn't
You
they?
do want to meet him.
You guys don't even know who Queen is. Stop that.
Yeah,
I'd like
so
to
we
meet
actually
him.
met at Z57.
Did you?
Yeah.
Neat.
Yep. And then I left there and started a marketing agency in 2006 called G-Wave.
Uh-huh.
And we were doing, custom web development and mobile app development for large companies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Focused in Southern California? Or all
No,
over?
companies all over and
All over.
internationally. Yeah. Yeah. So it was biotech and health and pharma and real estate and
Wow.
lots of different industries.
Yeah, very underfunded vertical markets. Lots of money in those verticals.
Lots of money on those deals.
That's great.
They took, a while to close, intense. You're always working. When you're working with companies that large, you never stop working 7 days a week around the clock.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, when they're paying you that kind of money on those types of contracts, they expect you to perform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, was Flash involved with G-Wave as well?
He was. So I started at Z57 when they were 30 people, about the same size that our startup is today. So it's a really special stage for Tap Hunter today. And I think I was employee number 5 there.
Wow.
And he was employee number 3. And started as a non-paid intern and ultimately became a developer, director of technology, and then the CTO. So he helped build the company, essentially. Yeah.
And you were there 9 years, is that right?
No, so I was at Z57 2 different times for like a couple year stint, but ran G-Wave for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah, from 06 to 2011.
And what were some of the biggest challenges you faced at G-Wave, taking it to the next level?
Oh, biggest challenges at G-Wave. I haven't thought about that in a long time. That company was really developed. It was work from home, and our team, there's about 10 of us, all worked remote. So that proved to be hard when you're working on big contracts, big deals. This was mid 2000s where Slack and instant messaging and a lot of these great tools that we use today might not have existed. So it wasn't as easy to be in a distributed team. So I'd say one of the biggest challenges was working in a distributed team.
Sure.
Initially, the company I was working from home, and I figured out pretty quickly that I hated it. I don't know how many of you work from home or from the office. Anyone work from home? Do you love it or hate it? So-so? Yeah.
It is changing.
I see some love and some hate. And it did not take me long to figure out that I hated working from home. And unfortunately, in 2006, spaces like this did not exist. Had they, I think that my track would have taken a very different turn. I could have still very well been running that agency today. Yeah. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges, not being around people every day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, the tools didn't exist that we all have in our back pockets.
Yeah, there was
today.
no Google
Makes it
Hangout.
easy.
I mean, Skype
Right.
existed, but people weren't using it prevalently to do
Sure.
business like they do today. So a lot of times today you get a request to do a meeting and people just want to join.me or Google Hangout and you're just right there together talking, regardless if you've ever met before. So it's definitely a lot different.
So what made you leave G-Wave and then take the next step towards Tap Hunter?
So Z57 was SaaS, a SaaS business, software as a service. How many people are familiar with software as a service type business model? So really where you build a technology platform and it's a subscription-based model where you subscribe to the service, to use it over and over again. And we just saw the power of that business model. Ultimately, they scaled up to 30,000 monthly real estate agents, paying them, X amount of money per month for services and marketing. That's a pretty smart business model if you want to grow a significant size company. And so it just always really intrigued us. Yeah. And G-Wave was a consultancy, what we like to call trading time for money. And we just always knew that long term I wasn't going to be completely satisfied with that kind of feel, right?
Yeah.
The only way to make money is if you're working 24/7.
Yeah.
So.
And clone yourself and
Yeah.
bring in a lot of bodies.
Yeah. So, the SaaS models, it's such an exciting time because we have a lot of entrepreneurial founder friends. It's just, the amount of money that it takes to start a business today in that world is a couple $100 and you can build a SaaS company. We have friends that have really substantial startups they're building with 2 or 3 people, and within a couple of months they're making 10, 50K a month across 3 people, right? With software that they built and they're out there in the marketplace. So it's just such a phenomenal time to be an entrepreneur today. Yeah.
Really scales.
Compared to it just even in 2000, which is not really that long ago.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So when did you close up shop at G-Wave or sell the company, or what was your exit strategy?
Yeah, so Tap Hunter was really one of 5 different things that we had built at the time. So we built some SEO tracking software that my husband Flash had built. And the idea was, we have all these great consulting clients. I mean, we were working with True Religion, Brand Jeans, and publicly traded biotech companies. And our idea was, we'll find something software related that we'll build for a client and we'll really love it. And our only criteria is we didn't want it to be in the real estate industry because we had already done that. And we're like, and Zillow and Trulio were exploding. It's like, we're not going to compete with them. And so Tap Hunter was really born out of the idea of our love for beer and whiskey. Any beer fans? Whiskey?
Whiskey.
Yeah. So I'm a beer and whiskey geek. And I don't know about you, but, SEO software wasn't really that exciting to me at the time. So the idea for Tap Hunter was born really to just help us find where we could find our favorite beers around town.
Nice.
And then we started bumping people into the industry and realized pretty quickly that there was something very special taking place in the industry.
That's neat.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what is your favorite beer around town? Anybody else want to know? I do.
So,
Couple.
So many, yeah. I'm a huge fan of Society Brewing. Has anyone been to Society Brewing?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a huge fan for a variety of reasons, but their beer is fantastic. It's more of the Belgian style, but the founders, Travis, and then it's a phenomenal story. They built the brand right, but I love their beer is delicious. Yeah. What do we have on our office kegerator right now? I actually think we have grapefruit sculpin in the office right now. Yeah, true story. Yeah. Mother Earth. Yep.
Any great female brewers that you are partial to? Since this is female founders,
right?
Right?
Yeah. At Rock Bottom.
Yeah. Pizza Port, maybe?
Yeah, so, Laura Ulrich works at Stone Brewing, one of the really earliest female brewers there at Stone. Has anyone had Stone Vanilla Porter? It's just a phenomenal beer, brewed by a female. And she's also one of the founders of Pink Boots Society, which is an organization across really the world for women who earn a living in the brewing industry. And so, yeah, the females in the brewing industry is very spectacular. Some of the most amazing brewers in the world are females.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Vanilla Porter?
Yes.
Stone
Vanilla Porter.
Ooh, we got to try that. Should we put that on the menu for next month?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Put it in your
There's
suggestion
Coronado
box.
over there, but I don't know what's on there.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your role at Tap Hunter, your co-founders and their roles, and we'll go from there. Is that okay? Cool.
So Tap Hunter started, and we loved it. It was just, so the craft brew industry here in San Diego, so just to kind of set the stage here for kind of how this all happened, the timing, the growth of the industry. We're arguably in the craft beer capital of the world right now. How many of you actually know that, right? There are 120 plus breweries in San Diego. And so some of our closest friends are some of the, the most well-known people in the industry that we've just been really lucky to kind of grow with up over time. And so that was a huge part of this. It was the timing of it. And it's like, we have a chance to be a part of this industry and this community, but through technology and innovation. And that's really what it was. So in 2011, started winding down the agency, handing my contracts off to other business partners. And my husband and co-founder Flash started exiting Z57. And at the beginning of 2012, we got accepted into Evo Nexus, which is the incubator on the second floor here in this building, which is really, fortunately and unfortunately today, hopefully for not very much longer, the only kind of like incubator here in town for tech startup. And so we were one of the first 9 companies to go through that program in 2012. So that's when it all started. We just gave a few of our team members a tour of the 2 desks that we sat in, where it all started.
Did you take pictures?
Yeah, slept in that space numerous times. Yeah, so that's kind of what started the journey of Tap Hunter 4.5 years ago.
Wow. And now you're up to 30 employees?
32.
That's tremendous.
And we'll be 40 by the end of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, maybe Melanie, you could give a real quick overview of what your app does.
Yeah.
I know you said beer and whiskey.
Right. What does it do?
What's the deliverable here? Yeah. What's the panache?
Yeah. So we actually work with bars, restaurants, and retailers to help them manage and market their beverage program. So beer, spirits, cocktails, wine, cold brew, kombucha, really specialty beverage, anything. Right. And then on the flip side, we have a consumer-facing app that allows you to find where grapefruit sculpin is currently being poured. Yeah. So that's what the software does. We're a B2B company. That's, so bars and restaurants pay us a monthly subscription to use our services.
SaaS modeling.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we've heard that before, haven't we? SaaS. It's a great model. So any rough figures on how many B2B relationships you have and what
Yeah,
the
so we have
projections are?
thousands of bar and restaurant customers across the U.S. So major markets: Southern California, Phoenix, Denver, Dallas, D.C., Portland, Seattle, all over the U.S. Fun customers in Australia, New Zealand, some other just crazy towns and countries that find us and say, oh, we need to use your service so really for the bar owner, what happens is if we're running a bar together, you have 20 draft handles, a ton of spirits, just managing a great beverage program is not that easy. And so that's what our software allows all these small businesses, and not even small anymore. So we actually work with Whole Foods. We have over 100 Whole Foods accounts. Twin Peaks, which is nearing 100 locations. We've done pilot programs with BJ's Restaurant, but even all the craft beer bars around downtown San Diego are all of our customers. So it's from the one location all the way up to the large chains are using our software today to manage their beverage program more efficiently.
And it's free for consumers.
Free for consumers.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Download the app tonight on the way home. So I have to share with you, I was up in San Francisco meeting with some of our founding team, and I saw a whiskey bar, and it's the first uniquely whiskey bar that I had ever seen. And they must have had 500, 600 different bottles of whiskeys and bourbons and scotch. It was spectacular. I didn't want to leave. So you might want to find them. They're right on the waterfront.
Nice.
It's very cool. Wow. I don't think I did leave, actually. So download the app. It's free. Okay. Now, you mentioned Flash as your co-founder.
Yes.
Tell us what it's like having a husband as a co-founder and a partner. The highs and the lows.
Oh, yeah. So
you said you were going to let your hair down a little.
Right? Yeah. So I was sharing with a few of the awesome ladies I had a chance to meet tonight that this is not our first time working together. We've had a lot of practice. So while we met at that company, and at the time he was the director of technology, I was the marketing director, so we worked on a lot of projects together. I had already started G-Wave Consulting on the side while still working at Z57. So that was a huge step. If I could give any advice, if you're thinking of going out on your own, That's, that's a great path to take. Is freelance on the side, keep your day job, get things going. And so that's a great way to do it so that you don't, pull the ripcord and then you're out on the streets, which I've seen people do too. So we were doing freelance projects on the side through G-Wave as well. So we had a chance to work, to really just understand how each of us works, right? We got married in 2006, and our 10-year wedding anniversary is tomorrow.
Oh, come on, give it up now. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's been a wild ride. I am not sure I can actually imagine running a company with anyone else. We're young, and I always say Tap Hunter's not my last company, but it's phenomenal, and we're just getting started. But it has, I can go into more stories, but it's not been easy. Let's just say that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not all, tulips and rainbows.
Well, like you said, you slept at your desk when you first started G-Wave, and that's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah. Well, the benefit of that, he always said, because when we were at Evo, we were in there with 10 other startups. At the time at Evo, there was really only me and one other female, was Adriana with Fashion Change, who's now since her company's in LA. And then it was like 20 guys and 2 girls in there. So I share this because I know there's male and females here, and all the guys, whether they had girlfriends or wives or whatever it was, like that's a brutal lifestyle. Like being in a relationship with an entrepreneur alone, like if you are in a relationship today with an entrepreneur, I want to give you a hug. And if you are the entrepreneur and you're in a relationship, and so we always kind of laugh like, oh yeah, we don't have to be the one that's like, I'm not going to be home for dinner tonight, right? So those were some of the pros to it, but there's a lot of pros and cons.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you sharing. You have some of your team members here, and they're all smiling. So you guys are doing something right. It might be the vanilla porter that you mentioned that you promised them later, but they're all smiling, which tells me you guys are doing a lot of things really well. Do you mind sharing with us one of the challenges you all face at present and in the near term that you're already focusing on?
Yeah, challenges.
Don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, not at all. Yeah. So I think one of the things right now is we have, so Lisa, who's here with us tonight, she's our new marketing and CS director, and she's been with us for 3 weeks now. And we still pinch ourselves, but she just moved here from San Francisco, and she previously was the marketing director at Open Table, and she moved to San Diego to work for our company.
Wow.
Like that's substantial and very awesome, and she's been with us for a few short weeks. And just in about another week or two, we have a new sales director starting who's moving back to Southern California from Norfolk, Virginia for a job she took. And so with that just comes a lot of change. And I spoke to the company on Monday in a company update meeting, and really the message I gave was, my goal is to communicate early and often. And then I can't guarantee where the company's going to end up, right? There's no magic 8-ball that's going to tell us the outcome of this whole thing. But the one thing that I can guarantee is that change is going to happen. And managing that is, I feel, a company at our stage, it'll be one of the biggest challenges to manage. It really is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Change.
Is the change that comes with all of that. As your head count grows and the team grows and managing all of that, it's no easy feat for sure.
And you said communicate often?
Oh, early and often.
Early and often.
Yeah,
I love that.
Early and often.
I think that's so critical in any startup.
Yeah.
Because change is inevitable. You're going to pivot all the time.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep the lines of communication open, it means you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. And Lisa, the weather didn't have anything to do with you relocating here? Is that what Melanie said?
A little bit. Yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled.
Well, welcome.
Stay here and be with Mel.
Yeah, welcome to San Diego. So we're going to pivot here a little bit too. I know your co-founder was San Diego Startup Week,
Yes.
and Tim's here.
And so is Tim.
And yep, Tim.
Yeah.
So,
Hi, Tim.
and our firm, Ideator, was a sponsor last year. And
Yeah.
it was really our first experience with Startup Week. And I have to tell you all, it was just phenomenal.
Thank
We
you.
had a ball. I think we had more fun than a lot of the people that attended our events, but it also helped us create a buzz around our company. So I'd like to thank the whole Startup Week team for that whole experience for us. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? I know you said you joined and started building this 4.5 years ago. Is that
Yeah.
about right?
What year is this
So
year, Tim?
it's been
4?
4th year. That's so
So-
cool.
Tim is an amazing entrepreneur here in San Diego. If you guys haven't met him, you've got to meet him. And while we were all tirelessly getting our companies off the ground, we also thought it would be a really great idea to start another company called Startup Week.
Fantastic idea.
Yeah, it's such a great idea. Let's just start another one. And our colleague Austin Nudiker came along with a handful of other sponsors and supporters like yourself. But in the early days, it was Cooley and Silicon Valley Bank and some of the service providers in town that allowed us to get it off the ground. But you know, there's startup weeks all around the country and all around the world. Some of them branded through, you know, Techstars and Up Global and some of these other organizations. We're under Up Global, right? No, okay, not Up Global. He's like Mel, just come to one of the planning meetings and you would know
We're under
this.
Startup San Diego.
Its own entity.
Yes.
Okay, we should be having champagne after this. So
Wow, I
the
didn't know that.
premise.
Already had some.
So the premise of Startup Week is, you know, when I think back to that, it was to just show off San Diego, right? We're so underrepresented here. There's really amazing things happening, and there's real companies being built here, and we just get overlooked because of our friends in Santa Monica and LA, and I just think we're just fed up with it, right? We needed to make some noise. And so that was really the start of it. And now it's in its 4th year with over 100 events across the entire week. And I had a quick chat or email with Tim the other day, who was, I don't want to say the numbers unless you want to, but I couldn't believe the amount of sponsorship dollars that you told me, like you and Neil and the team brought in for that.
Over 20 sponsors.
Yeah.
And we've for the entire week, not like a single event. It's the entire week.
And last year we had
Congrats.
like five or 10 sponsors, and
We
it
had
just
10, and that was very hard to get.
yeah. So I think one of you know, my strong beliefs is entrepreneurialism and education. So Startup Week is a great funnel, and the idea is to introduce people to the idea of starting anything regardless of what it is. Yeah. So there's a seed track if you're early in ideation stage, and growth track if you're a later stage, and there's you know, graphic UI, web design, developer. There's a brew track this year.
Wow.
There's a bio track that's
Yeah.
like very specific, you know, industry specific to San Diego, because we're such a huge city of bio and brew and military and all these other economies here happening in San Diego. So San Diego Startup Week is really important to San Diego.
And a social track now too,
Yeah.
which is very cool. So who here is involved in San Diego Startup Week? Isn't it great? I know Brandon, your social track. Tim, obviously one of the co-founders. Eric, it's a lot of fun. So get a ticket soon. Come to
On
the
sale.
events. I'm sorry?
They're on sale.
They are on sale. And actually, Ideator's helping with an idea competition, so there's going to be a fun idea competition. Sorry to throw a plug in there.
No, that's fine.
I don't have my Ideator t-shirt.
Information on text now.
Thank you. That's the logo, guys. It's awesome. So, well, thank you for your participation in Startup Week, because I think it's only going to get better. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Now, Qualcomm Robotics Incubators, Accelerators, gone, right? But you were a mentor there for a while?
Yeah, so Techstars, how many people have heard of Techstars? Or Y Combinator?
Yep.
Yeah, so they're the Ivy League of incubators, startup incubators, right? So if you think of Harvard and Stanford and those, so Techstars, Y Combinator, and some of those are really prestigious tech accelerators. And San Diego was lucky enough to have Techstars come to San Diego, but partner with Qualcomm.
Right.
Robotics is a huge industry here in San Diego. While it was a short-lived, I wish it would have continued on their regular schedule. It didn't, but my good friend Ryan Cooter was chosen as the director for that program. He actually is Techstars, Virgin Mobile, and living in London right now, working with Richard Branson. Yeah.
Having no fun.
And he keeps posting photos. I'm like, stop having so much fun. San Diego needs you. Come back. He'll be back. Yeah, he'll be back. And so, just great for San Diego. I wish the program would have gone on, but some excellent companies out of there. Clever Pet being one of the big notable companies out of there. And just had the opportunity to go in and mentor some of the companies that were literally, day two and two founders and just trying to get their company off the ground. And there's nothing more special in the entire world than when a company is at that stage. Yeah, it's very special.
So you worked with Ping and Clarissa, and
Yep.
that's neat.
Yeah.
Well, tell them I said hello, please. Now, one of the things we always try to ask our guests is, you've been an entrepreneur a couple times now. If you had one thing that you could do over again, what would that be? I know I'm putting you on the spot again.
One thing. Oh, there's a lot.
Maybe a couple. Try a couple then, if you.
Yeah, so one of the things that comes to mind is, I remember G-Wave. It's the admin and the books and setting up your business entity, regardless if it's an LLC or an S corp. And when you first start thinking about all those things, it's just so overwhelming. Like, where do you even start? And how do you get a logo and build a website? And so I mean, I don't know how many of you are thinking of starting something. Yeah, no, kind of.
Come on, put them up. Put them up. Come
You're
on.
in it now. How many people are running their company or idea now? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So don't try to do it all. There's LegalZoom, and can you find a small business attorney, and can you outsource your bookkeeping and not try to take on all that stuff yourself? Today, for our size and stage company, man, I think this time last year I was still running payroll, and it's just continuing to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Because if I'm the smartest one in the room, like, there's a serious problem. And I have a lot of founder and CEO friends who have challenges with letting go and controlling, and you can't scale that way. But even regardless of the size company or team you want to build, you've got to really surround yourself with good advisors, mentors, early and often. I mean, that's a really big piece of it. Yeah.
That's great advice. I think it's called delegate.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not good at it. Doesn't mean that I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Another question that we like to ask is, you've really started a couple of great companies here in San Diego. And even though you're international and global with your solution now, there are a lot of people here in this room and in our community that would like to start a business, and that are looking for opportunities. Where do you see an opportunity to bring a disruptive solution to market for people that are looking? Any thoughts? I know you mentioned on the phone that you and Flash or Jeff are looking at a number of other startups as well. I mean,
Yeah.
just because it's your nature. So are there things that you think are markets where they're ripe for disruptive solutions?
You know, so I just was on floor 11 at the Vine before I came down here, and which is where Tim and Lab Fellows is, and some of my other colleagues. And I ran into Jared and his new startup called Upcycle. And it's just unbelievable the types of companies you can start. So his whole company is around excess byproduct of food and spent grain and all this. He was just explaining the whole thing to me. It's not really heavily technology based, but it's around food waste. And he was telling me the partnerships that he had with farms in different states and the funding he's getting. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's in the agriculture industry. And the whole idea is around excess capacity, right? And so when you think about companies like Uber and Airbnb, I mean, that's really kind of the realm that he's in, but in agriculture. And so I just really think, you know, what sorts of companies, what's the next Airbnb of the world around excess capacity? And you hear the buzzword a lot, sharing economy and things like that. And it's just, it could be any one of us in this room that thinks of that. So that, you know, that's something that's, you know, there's so many business ideas out there.
Huge.
Yeah.
If you stop and look at some of the initiatives today, like the UN Global Goals, they have 17 global goals that they're publishing and hoping that people around the world will help to develop solutions. And many of them are around food, water, poverty, injustice, rights. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. So I think you're spot on. So, do you have a personal mission statement that you like to try to live by? Anything that is your kudo or credo? Thank you. Oh, it's easy for me to say. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I'll just say the first thing that popped into my head. So, I think work-life balance is bullshit. I do. And that's a big part of our company culture, obviously. But that's becoming more common, but there's just so many people who are unhappy in their jobs. How many people know someone that's unhappy in their job?
Yeah.
Right? Like, really? That's what you spend the majority of your life doing, and you hate what you do?
Yeah.
Why? Like, what the fuck? Like, change it. Ew.
Really?
Like, why are you miserable? I mean, there's so much opportunity out there, right? Like, if you're my friend, I'll let you complain for 2 minutes, and then we're gonna, like, put a plan together for you to make a move. But it's just, do what you love, right? And so it just goes back to my credo of I think work-life balance is, and it's more about the integration, right? Like, are you really serving day in and day out the purpose that's, you know, that is your reason for being? Yeah.
That's awesome.
And a big one of mine is education and creating opportunity, and helping people to, you know, to get to their full potential. So I think that's one of them. What else? That's pretty much the big one.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Just a little tidbit for females in the room. The SBA has a program that's called Female Business Development, and they have a new director whose name is Erin Andrew, and they have a ton of money, and they are promoting education and funding for female entrepreneurs out of Washington, D.C., and they are actively looking for ways to help female entrepreneurs in any way, shape, or form.
How many female founders in the room? Oh, you're all right up front.
Yep.
Fun.
Where you expect them to be.
I know, that's great.
Actually, this organization, as part of the SBA, just participated in the National Business Week event,
Yeah.
and with Crunchbase and with a couple of other very big sponsors.
Have you guys heard of Hera Labs? Okay,
Sure.
good. Yeah, that's, you know, you talk about a tireless female founder, Felina Hansen. I mean, just unbelievable, just phenomenal human being, what she's doing. I met her before Hera was even existed, so just to see what she's done, female entrepreneurism, and that is very, near and dear to my heart too, because it's hard out there. It really is. There's a lot of pros and cons to that too, but less than 1% of tech companies out there, of females are even, do people even invest in?
Right.
That's a really, really alarming statistic that can be very heavy if you're a female looking to start a company. And it shouldn't be that way.
No.
Like, why is it like that? It's so that's you can, those are the sorts of things that get me really fired up.
She's actually going to be our guest at Startup
Yes.
Grind in, I think, 3 months.
Yeah.
So come on back.
Yeah.
So.
She is helping. She is someone who's helping to change that number.
Right.
Like the work that she's doing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
No.
Well, I think we're near 8 o'clock. Is that about right?
Yeah, 7:56.
I can't see with my glasses on anyway, so I'm going to need some help here. But how about a big round of applause for Melani just to start? Okay, and we're going to do it again too. Okay. Now's the time for a little audience interaction, more than we've had already.
Yeah.
So now's your time to ask questions and give a few shout outs too. Okay. So, and I'm going to let you pick.
Okay. Yeah,
The people.
Questions? Yes, you in the back.
I've been part of an incubator and also with a startup that wasn't part of that. I'm curious what your thoughts are, pros and cons, in terms of going into an incubator or doing it independently.
Yeah. If you ever have the opportunity to apply and get into an incubator, do it. When you're early stage, one of the best things you can do is surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and like-minded people. At that point, you're all crazy, second guessing yourself every second of the way. You go, and that was one of the biggest things that we got out of Evo Nexus, was just surrounding yourself with others who are at very similar stages. And then it was also a great network into mentorship and advisors. Was a great network for us. So I highly recommend it. I mean, some of the top incubators like Techstars and YC and those are very hard to get in. But there's so many across the country that are also industry specific. And if you're just getting started and starting out, look for an incubator in your industry or wherever you're at, because it's just so important to get plugged in.
Yeah, an example of one that we know of is a company called IoT Wearable World, and it's very specific to wearable Internet of Things tracking. So there are a ton of those specialty incubators and accelerators out there that if you have a product that you want to develop, you can find somebody that'll help you. Okay.
Do you have a question?
From the company that was on the application for Evo Nexus, how many times have you pivoted to your current product, and kind of what was one of the bigger pivots?
Yeah. Pivot. Whew. So we pivoted one time. And we originally started the company to be B2C. And, the idea was to get as many app downloads as we possibly could, and then we'd figure out how to monetize later, right? That probably sounds familiar, a la Snapchat and Instagram and all of those. But we discovered pretty quickly that unless we were going to have 10, 20, 30, 100 million downloads, it was going to be pretty hard. Yeah. So we had a pretty good idea that the businesses are what needed us, and we started building some early product, and we said, this is it. We've got to swing all the way over here to B2B and focus there. So our consumer-facing mobile app today is a huge piece of what we do. It just hasn't had a lot of focus. But that's changing because we're more resources and some more funding behind us, and so that'll change soon, but we had to focus. Yeah. Yes.
So I think you just mentioned there are 32 people in your company now.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get that right group of people, that kind of that core team? Because obviously this is your baby, this is your passion, your vision. How do you find those people that also believe in the same thing and the way that you do, and that that's your core group of people?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Man, you just have to sell your vision, right? If you're selling the vision and the passion of what the company's doing, especially early on, this is really for early on, the right people are going to gravitate toward, what you're initially doing. And we're at a stage now where we can't recruit fast enough. So we have to really tighten up our hiring and recruiting because we're looking for A players, and that is not easy. So getting very, very crystal clear and intentional in the beginning what level of team and talent you want to do. Hiring and recruiting is when going back to one of your questions, like what would I change? I would have hired our talent and culture person is here with us tonight, and I should have done that a year ago. Oh my gosh. And I've had other founders tell me the same thing, like, your number 1 or 2 hire should be your recruiter person, and it didn't happen fast enough. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Did you guys raise money? And so in light of what you were saying earlier about women raising money at challenges, what was your experience if you did raise money? What was your experience doing that, and do you have any advice or kind of?
Yeah. Are you trying to raise money right now?
No, not now.
But maybe one day.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we have raised $1.2 million to date. We raised an initial friends and family round where you get the check from the family member and hope it doesn't end in awkward Thanksgiving dinner conversation. If you can at all not ever do that and raise money from friends and family, I would highly recommend skipping that at all costs, because that is one tricky road to go down. And we got lucky. And then we raised, we bootstrapped the company, right, with some of our own money and customer revenue, for the better part of 2 years, and then raised from some local angels here in San Diego. There's money here. And don't let anyone tell you any different. You just have to go hustle and find it. And so we raised a small seed round, about $280,000. And that lasted us a bit, and then last summer we closed some more money. And it's not easy. It takes 3, 6, sometimes 12 months to raise money, which means it's a full-time job. You're not working on your company. And it's, once you make that decision to raise money, you don't ever really get to go back either and say, I don't want to raise money, right? So that was a huge decision for us. To raise money or not, and so that's one of the biggest decisions you'll make when starting your company is how to fund it. But San Diego's changing a lot, and Andy in the room, if you haven't met him, you should, because he's trekked over here from Las Vegas and didn't think he was going to stay, and now he is, and he's one of our biggest ambassadors and cheerleaders in startup San Diego. This man is, again, talk about another just tireless efforts that, he doesn't even have to do this stuff, but he does because he loves it. And he's helping to build the community here and bring money here. And so Tim and Andy, if you get a chance to meet them before you leave tonight, like phenomenal contributors to the community here. So, yeah.
And so you only looked locally, or did you also look elsewhere?
Yeah, so we had a lead investor, which typically you need to kind of send the signal to get others to come in. And so our lead investor was a seed stage fund out of San Francisco, which luckily enough for us was a fantastic signal for a lot of local angels to just say, oh, well, if they're in, we're in. And so that's ultimately what ended up happening. Yeah. And then this last round, it's a lot easier to raise money when you have traction in today's economy. I'm just going to tell, the money's drying up and getting real tight here, and the economy is in a very interesting situation, right? So our last round, we raised money from current investors. They came back in and added more money, and we had significant growth and traction. which ultimately is the only way I was able to raise money to begin with. So we were not pre-revenue, and I wasn't trying to raise money on a, hey, look at my app on this PowerPoint screen and you should give me $10 million. That wasn't the case at all. And we had revenues and real traction and great retention with customers, and I had to tell that story about 500 times and be told 200 times before I even got 20 people to write checks for us. So yeah, it's a grind for sure. Yeah.
Going along with that, you're not having to give away more percentage of the company during the different funding rounds, are you?
You do, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah. So we initially on our seed stage round raised through convertible note, and that essentially converted. But yeah, we've raised on equity and given up a piece of the company, which can be very hard as a founder, right? You've got to decide where your parameters are there. Yeah. And if you keep down that path and keep raising money from venture or equity or whatever else it is, every time you raise more money, you're giving up more equity in your company. Yeah.
So when you first started Tap Hunter, is this like a kind of like a new concept for the industry, for the wine industry?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So it was newer, and there were a few of us who got our start right around the same time. And so, the quick answer is yes. Trying to call into bars and restaurants, selling them a solution that they hadn't really heard of before, that's a great question. I'm happy to say that 4.5 years later, it's not so new anymore. Competition in the market has really helped us too, and so the idea of using our tools to kind of manage and market their beverage program is not as foreign to them anymore. I'd say our other biggest competition is Excel spreadsheets and Photoshop. so that helps.
When you've also chosen the high margin side of the hospitality business.
Yes.
Instead of food,
Yeah.
it's beverage, which
Yeah.
the margins are tremendous. So
Yeah.
that gives you an audience that's going to pay attention to
Absolutely.
your solution. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you have to go like door to them and like present to them how to use the app and how
Yes.
it's going to generate revenue?
So customer acquisition, we have an inside sales team today in our office. So of our 32 people, about 20 are inside sales. We acquire our customers mostly through inbound and outbound. So about half of our customers come from our inside sales team. They're calling on bars and restaurants all across the country. We actually had an inbound lead the other day from New Zealand. The other part is demand gen, so inbound leads, right? All that whole wonderful world of lead gen and demand gen and growth hackers and all that kind of stuff. So that's the other way that we acquire customers too. Yeah.
But it was really hard for you when you first started. It's hard
Yes.
to convince them.
So our first 50 or 100 so bar and restaurant customers, who are all in San Diego, I signed up pounding the pavement with my iPad, sometimes printouts, demoing the product, and then saying, so you want to sign up? And then they're like, do you take cash or a check or a credit card? And I was like, all of it. And then I would come back to Evo Nexus and I'd be like, I got an order, hurry up and finish the product. And so that's literally, so, that was the better part of, the first 6 to 12 months.
Can you explain a bit what your product is?
So if you're a bar owner or a restaurant, you can basically manage your beer and wine inventory, from our iPhone. Yeah, so you can add and remove a beverage, and then we'll power digital display menus and printed menus, and we push it out through social media and the website and all that kind of stuff.
Does it help with advertising?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, inventory replenishment?
Not yet. Yeah.
What's your background in technology?
I'm a sales and marketing person.
Okay.
Yeah. I could sell or market anything that I actually cared about. Sales and marketing is my thing.
And Flash is the tech side.
Yeah,
of
he's the tech
partnership.
side.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea of how to do it?
Right.
Like creating an app?
You know, so it was really the looking around you, what are you passionate about, and is there something that's not working, right? And can I fix it? And just being curious where that idea can come from. Yeah.
As you look back at the consumer market, are there any strategies that you're excited about to kind of take over that space?
Strategies on the consumer market. Trying to think. I mean, well, live video. I know he was doing live video before, and you're hearing a lot about live video. It's so interesting. I don't know how many of you have done live video on Facebook, and you know, it's that's definitely a really interesting space. I think there's a lot of companies that were too early, but I'm really into products around culture. So our company uses a tool called 15Five. It's the number 115 and then FIVE. Anything around like employee engagement, I think is a really exciting space and hasn't been fully exploited. There's companies like Workday and those that are really huge enterprise, but not a lot of companies serving kind of the mid-market around culture and talent. So that's a space that I really like.
Are you guys in Europe?
Yeah, I think Spain and Switzerland and.
So how do you get those sales? Like are they primarily working with you in English, or do you like have sales?
They are English speaking. We do have a customer in Japan as well. And they're English speaking. We've, done the demo and kind of deal over Skype. It's all been in, what did you say?
Singapore.
Singapore. Thank you. Yeah. English speaking. Yeah.
Any plans to localize it for different languages?
Not right now. I'm not saying it's not something we wouldn't do, but we're just so focused on, hitting market share in the U.S.
Sure.
And I think that Canada's interesting, although the, conversion of the dollar isn't working so much in our favor right now.
And they say A too much. Eh?
Yeah. But, so Canada's interesting. So we'll see. I think with Stone Brewing going to Berlin and things like that, becomes very interesting. Yeah.
How about 2 more questions? I'd like to go back to something Faith talked about, your initial hires. One of the things that I hear frequently from startups that we engage with is that your first hires are so critical to your success, because if you hire somebody who's toxic, it can take the company down.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've tried to monitor and manage before you brought in your human resources person?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We hired a rogue salesman.
Yeah.
He's no longer with us, so I can say this, but man, was that not a fit. And we knew it in like 60 days. Yeah, it was, and it's hard when there's just 3 of you. Like, that's a big percentage of your company.
Sure is.
Laying off 90% of the workforce today.
We're laying off our son.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is family. Your first
Yeah.
hires they're family.
Oh,
no matter
man.
how you bend or shape it.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's, the first few hires are hard, but when you make the right hire, so, yeah.
Thank you. That's great. One more?
Are your long-term plans, and I mean, this may be asking too much, but do you want to like build it up and then sell it, or do you want to hold on to it? I mean, is this your kind of one of your babies that you're going to stick with?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a legitimate question. So, I'm here to build a great company. And when you make the decision to raise money, you also have a responsibility to your investors.
Sure.
but we're not looking to sell. And so there's other ways to run and build the company without having to, you know, hope and pray one day Google comes and buys us, because that's the, you know, that's the minority. That doesn't happen. And could I see us running this company 10, 20 years from now? Sure. Absolutely. And so we just have a much longer term plan for where to take it and the opportunity that's there. But there's ways for our investors and employees and all of us to take money off the table versus selling. Like there's a lot of opportunities there. But I never got in and started the company with the goal of building it and selling it. So if that's your,
Yes.
the quick answer. Now I'm not saying that, I wouldn't do that in the future. I have friends who are doing that currently, and it's a very different path. They literally have started the company because they want in and out, right? And it's a very different path. Yeah. So I think you have to get real clear from the beginning on that, and know which path you're going to go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ballast Point offers you $200 million. You say no.
I say yes.
And then drink that vanilla porter to celebrate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Stone. I'm sorry. Darn it.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie, thank you so
Thanks.
much. How about a big round of applause, please? This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
thank
Thank
you.
you for letting your hair down a little.
Absolutely.
Now, it's a chance for everybody to do a shout out. If there's an event or a new business opening or a job opportunity that you'd like to share with the community, this is your chance. Anybody? Please.
So, Hunter is hosting happy hour next Wednesday in our office, so if you all want to come, it's just going to do a little demonstration of our app. There'll be food and drinks and stuff. Next Wednesday the 18th at 6. And also, we are always hiring, so if you do want to...
That's my girl.
Are you the human resources person?
Yes, she is.
That was good.
So if you're interested in what type of opportunities there are at Hunter, reach out to Mel or myself.
Or a friend.
Or a friend, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anyone who likes craft beer.
Awesome.
We're always hiring, so thanks.
I think Tony wanted to talk about a co-working space. Tony, are you here? A new
My name
co-working.
is Tony. We just we opened our co-working space in Hillcrest just this January. It's called Community. Just drop in and check it out. And we also start the tech startup as well. So it's loyalty app for the restaurant. I know there's a number of them out there. We think we have a pretty good idea. So we're launching the app in San Diego in June, the pilot. So right now we're also looking for sales. So if anybody knows who might be interested, sales position.
Good.
Very good. Thank you.
Can I also introduce Michelle? Michelle is with The Vine, which is part of the Irvine Company. And Michelle is one of our hosts as well. So, Michelle, please raise your hand. So, any questions about her and the Irvine Company and The Vine? She's here. So, okay. Please, Eric.
Startup Show San Diego will be collecting video for Startup Week, and we'll be at Happy Hour with Tap Hunter coming up.
Nice.
Very nice. Any other shout outs, events, or anything? Andy, please.
June 14th is our keynote speaker for San Diego Startup Week, sponsored by SDVG, and that will be Mark Suster coming in from LA. We have the, where's that?
Symphony.
Yeah, it's at Symphony Hall. So there's about 2,000 seats that are available for this event. $50 gets you in for the event and the entirety of Startup Week, over 100 events throughout the week, any one of which is worth the money. But that's going to be a great one getting in here, and by far one of the most notable keynotes that we've had.
Good. Thank you.
I have a question. If you buy a ticket for Startup Week, do you have to buy a separate ticket?
No.
Nope.
No, $50, everything included right now for the early bird.
What exactly is Start Week?
June 12th through 18th.
Okay.
13th through the 17th, right?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Most of the activities are 13th through the 17th.
Yep. Well, we have more food and drink, and this is a time to continue networking, hand out business cards, ask your neighbors how you can help them, okay? So again, another big round for Melani.